Hi everyone, welcome to Raphael. My name is Raphael Morin, and every episode here is an interview, and we talk about design, development, work-life balance, expat life, mental health, history, and other cool stuffs. Welcome.
First of all, super excited to be here with like one of the persons that I have been stalking for a long time in the Twitter. Etienne is a Brazilian software engineer. I still live in London.
Yes, I am currently stuck in London. I was planning to move out since after graduating from the master's, and well, it wasn't possible because of COVID. So I'm waiting until the flights and the other countries accept people coming from the UK. But
Oh yeah. It's been crazy for people that are living in the UK, right?
it's there was like the new strain, and then there was like a lot of mismanagement. Luckily, the vaccine schedule was going really well here, but in terms of dealing with the crisis, wasn't that good. Like the schools were open until like a week before Christmas, and then I don't know. I knew two teachers who spent Christmas with COVID
Oh,
because of that. So yeah, it was quite complicated here. And well, and because of the new strain, lots of countries are not accepting flights from anyone in the UK. And yeah, so I can't go to mainland Europe right now, but maybe soon. Looks like it could open in some days, but I'm not sure. They keep changing it all the time. So it was supposed to be allowed in February, then it moved to mid-March, then it moved to end of March. Now end of March is here, and they might move it again. It's all very uncertain. It's very hard to plan anything.
yeah. I mean, but it's crazy because if you think like UK is kind of receiving flights for other countries, right?
I have no idea, but the thing is that normally the countries are making like distinctions between citizens and non-citizens, residents, non-residents, and if you're a tourist, you can't really go. And the thing is, I'm not an European citizen, right? I have a visa for the UK only. So it's very complicated. So Spain is only receiving citizens and residents, and Italy, I think, is the same. So
Yeah.
some of the places we could go, I'm not allowed to go because I'm not from there.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I mean I don't know much about UK, but I mean Sweden actually have been more crazy. I would say like people here are just ignoring the fact that COVID exists and there is no lockdown at all. There's few rules, but I don't feel that is like COVID. You know, like I was in Brazil when this started, and then people are like, "Oh my God, we're going to die" and stuff like that. And here is just, I mean, yesterday I was running with friends. No one was using mask. Actually, no one in Sweden using mask. Like now, there are some people are using the subway, but it's just doesn't look like there's COVID cases. You know?
Is it still like that? Jesus, I thought that had changed because, I had heard that people in Sweden had like this approach like, oh, yeah, some people are gonna die, but, it's just life, some people die, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, and I don't know, it felt like so weird.
Yeah.
And I thought that this had changed with like the other countries, like closing their borders from Sweden, or I don't know. I thought that there was like some epiphany and that things went in a different direction. But I am surprised to know
Yeah.
that it's still the same thing.
I mean, to be fair with Swedes, feels that they have this self. They if they feel like that they are not, if they think that they are not feeling well, they stay home and do the lockdown. They do the tests. But the thing is, COVID can be asymptomatic, and like you can still have the COVID and go and feel. I mean, you can feel good and still do things. So it's being, yeah. And then you talk with like Yeah, it's just insane. I don't know how to put in words. Compared to other places in the world, I don't know like if there's anything like Sweden. But in the same way, it's good. Like I basically don't feel locked down. I can like now they actually created some rules. When I came here, did exist any rules? Like now it's like, but it's pretty stupid rules. Like it doesn't make any sense. But it's like if you go to the bar, cannot be more than 4 people in the table. So, but it's like yeah, but it still can have like 30 people in the bar, you know. And then yeah,
You
it's
just
just
put more tables.
yeah, exactly. Like actually, some people do that. They go like 8 people and they sit close. You know, like they just like okay, we cannot sit the same table together by 8, but we can sit like 4 here and 4 here, and they just like do that. And I'm like, what? This is not lockdown.
Problem solved. The virus will never notice.
Yeah, it's just like, and now they create like some rules like 8 by 8, you know, all the bars and restaurants are going to be closed. But it's like, yeah, but everyone's like partying. I remember I was walking these days, and I do understand why Swedes like sun that much because, I mean, not they like a very intense sun, but they when the sun comes is an event here because we don't see the sun for months. So when the sun came last weekend, everyone went to the streets. I never saw so many people, you know, like people were like the sun, and they were walking like from like correct me by if I'm wrong, but you're from Rio as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they were walking like Cinelandia, like they're just like walking very close to each other and doing different stuff. Like nobody knew each other. They just walking, and I was like, "Damn, this is intense, especially for a COVID scenario." Yeah, it's just it's just insane. I would say.
I lost hope in humanity managing this well. So I kind of decided that I would try to go to a place where I feel good, like completely isolated from other people. Like I need a garden, I need sun, and I need a dog. So
Yeah,
that those are like my priorities. And just like ignore
yeah,
people and make sure that I'm feeling semi right and I can protect myself and still like have some enjoyable time, like I don't know, something close to nature. Like this is a problem for me right now. I'm in the middle of London and London is not very nature like.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like I really miss living by the sea, for
Yeah.
example.
Okay. Yeah. I would say come to Sweden, but by the sea is a little bit hard.
No, I am done with cold weather. I already think London is too cold, and by
Yeah.
European standards, London is warm.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like a friend of mine came here and he was like, a friend from Argentina actually. He moved to Spain recently, but he would send a message like, "Dan, it's too cold." Like he sent like 12 Celsius. And then I was like, that is not cold at all. Like try Sweden -15. And then yeah, but it's just intense for especially for me that comes from Rio. I don't know if I can make for more years.
Yeah, no, I am not up for Sweden or any other place
Yeah,
that is
no.
as cold. I saw like a PhD program and which was very interesting. It was so like the subject was something that was interesting to me, but it was like in the Arctic University of Norway. It was something like that. I don't remember the name of the university, but it was like on the northmost city. So it was like proper North Pole.
Oh my god.
And I was like, Jesus, I am morbidly curious about going there for a little bit. I think I could go for like 6 months. As
Yeah.
it's a life experience, but like a PhD is 3 years. It's a very long life commitment. I am not gonna do this like in a place that is in the literal North Pole. That seems like a very bad idea for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, but definitely not that place that I could commit to stay happy
Yeah.
for
It's just
long.
insane. Yeah. I mean, But like besides the weather, I can imagine that for you, move for a different country should be easy because I mean, how many languages do you speak? It's too many.
No, I don't speak that many languages. I speak a few. So there is Portuguese, there is English, and then I learned French.
Then,
So those are the three languages that I can speak fluently. Although French is not as fluent as English, for example. I reached fluency at some point while I was living in France because I was doing university there. All of the courses were in French. It was just impossible to not learn
yeah,
at that level of immersion and need to use it. But there isn't a lot of things that I do in French in my personal life in terms of like watching movies or talking to friends on the internet, or I don't know. I just don't have that much contact with French. And after I moved out of France, then that contact went basically to zero. So I still listen to audiobooks in French from time to time, just to make sure I'm like maintaining some of the language. But it's been almost 5 years since I don't live there anymore. Yeah, 5 years now.
how long
So
you
I
live there?
I lived there for almost 2 years, like 1 year and 7 months, 8 months, something like that.
Yeah,
So I forgot a lot. It degraded since I left France.
yeah. My dreams actually moved to France at some moment of my life, and very addicted to French culture and French songs. I feel that is amazing. I mean, I feel that is amazing that you speak French.
It's a very easy language to learn coming from Portuguese. You can learn it very fast. It's not as trivial in terms of the like automatic learning as it will be with maybe Spanish or even maybe like Italian, where you
Yeah,
understand a lot from the get-go and then you kind of ease into learning the rest. Like you need classes, you need structure to learn French first. You can't just absorb it. But given that, it goes really fast after you have a certain level. Because when you
yeah.
don't know a word, you can kind of try to say a word in Portuguese and throw in some French accent and then see if it sticks. Or I don't know. Or even if something sounds like sounds wrong to a French person, they might still understand you. So
Yeah,
there were, I don't know, it goes fast. Like it's not a language that takes forever to learn, which is what I'm finding with German. So I
you're
can
learning
speak,
German.
yes, I can speak some German. I can entertain simple conversations, but I can't get in, normal dialogue and discuss about life, the universe, and everything else, or like understand everything that is said in German. Like I will need to like ask for explanations a lot of the time. Like my level, like within the European scale, is between B1 and B2 in German. So that is like somewhat conversational,
Yeah,
but not still very far from fluent.
yeah, but it still is pretty. I mean, I have friends that live in Germany, and it seems very complicated language.
It is impossible. It's, oh my god. I get very angry at it for like random reasons. Like there are many aspects of the language that are very confusing and that I really dislike. I'm like, oh my god, why did you invent it like this? This is such a stupid decision. Of course it's not like a conscious decision. There is no one to blame. And the native speakers, it's for them it's just the way it is and it's natural. Sometimes I am jealous. You were born already like knowing this thing that is very complicated. And
Yeah,
now you don't have to do the effort. Like it's amazing. If I could pick like a different language to be born with, like if I could repick my native language, I will pick like the hardest one. Like,
Yeah.
some of like I would pick like either like Arabic or Chinese
Yeah.
or and if like an European language, I'll probably pick German, I think.
You were learning Greek, right? Now I'm coming to realize that. I think you tweeted one time about it.
Yes, Greek is a more recent language that I started learning just to travel there. Well, actually, it was not for traveling there because if you're going for touristy areas, everyone speaks English anyway. But it was more like, oh, it's going to be interesting to know some of the language
Yeah.
of the place that I am visiting, right? And it was going to be like a long trip. So we were planning to spend 1 month. So it seemed like interesting from the cultural perspective and worth it. And I like learning languages. So why not?
Yeah. Talk about learning language. Like you created the Polygloss, which is your project, right?
Yes, Polygloss came from my frustrations with German. But also because I needed some help practicing at a level that was lower than fluency or lower than conversational because I
Yeah.
don't live in Germany. I spent some time in Germany, but not enough to like learn it. Yeah, so I needed like some extra support, and I looked for tools to help me at my current stage, and there wasn't anything like really appropriate for the place that I was in my journey. So I was not longer beginning from scratch, so something like Duolingo was not useful for me anymore. Like I already knew all of the basic words. I had already completed Duolingo. In fact, I have gone through all of its learning tree.
Yeah. So you're really into learning languages.
Yeah, yeah, I really like it. But yeah, so I was no longer a beginner, but at the same time, I couldn't really communicate. I could watch some series in German, for example. I could watch Dark and understand what's going on. But if anyone asked me anything, or I don't know, if I had to say anything, I would just freeze. I was not prepared to like produce language. So I knew that I had to practice and I had to, practice
Yeah.
being creative and expressing myself and creating output in the language. But at the same time, I was still like very far from the language exchange apps, sort of like Tandem or HelloTalk or, all of the apps in those space where you find like a practicing partner and then you start a conversation and you keep that dialogue, right?
Yeah.
So first I was far from that stage. Like I didn't have enough vocabulary to like entertain a conversation in German for a long period of time. Secondly, I find the design of those apps, it's like they already demand a big level of fluency for learning to be fluent, and they demand a lot of social skills because
Yeah.
it's not just I need to speak good enough German to improve my German, but also I need to be very social and be able to keep up a conversation and enjoy talking to a stranger, which is hard even in my native language.
Yeah.
It's not a language skill, it's a social skill. So it demands something very high of you in that
Yeah.
area as well.
I feel that way when I was trying to learn English, and then like you said about being creative with the language, and I think that was when I tried to do that, like expose myself with Americans when I was in the U.S. Like I felt that that was the moment that I really learned English, because otherwise you just like you receive the conversation like someone is doing the input with you, and then you just like, then what I should say here, and then you take like a time to actually think what you're going to talk about, and that was a barrier for me for 1 year, I guess. I was actually scared to talk with people because I felt you feel so pressure, like to do the right flow when you're talking with someone, and and I can remember like sometimes I just got like fever because I don't know, I have a body condition that if I get a lot of stress, I get fever. And then I used to have fever in the end of the night just by being tired of trying to speak English. It was just, yeah.
Yeah, it's very exhausting.
Yeah.
And another problem is finding the people to talk to. Especially like if you're just like talking to random, because you start talking to someone and then you go for like the basic questions, right? Oh, how are you? How was your weekend? What do you work with? Or what do you study? You know,
Yeah.
where do you live? And the
Yeah.
thing is, then the conversation dies, and then you have to find a new person. And when you find a new person, you're gonna talk about the exact same thing. It always
Yeah.
starts with, "How are you? What do you work with?" You know, it's very repetitive and not really helping to practice. You like unless you
Yeah.
really find someone that you stay talking with that one person for a long time, it just never evolves from there. And
Yeah.
then another problem was guys hitting on women thinking it's a dating app. So
Oh, that
it's
happened. That happened in Europe.
that happened in language exchange apps.
Oh gosh.
So not
Yeah.
polygloss.
Yeah.
So I had this problem where the apps were either too difficult and too demanding or they were too easy. And there
Yeah.
was nothing in between. There was nothing that felt like it was adapted to my current needs. And that's where polygloss came in basically as a sort of a bridge between the stage of basic vocabulary and the stage of being conversational. So if I was gonna put it in a CEFR scale, which is the European proficiency scale, I would put it for A2 and B1, which is like these stages after full beginner but before being conversational. And the idea with polygloss is that it's an image guessing game, played between two players. So you have to write something about the image in a set of four, and you have one image that is your image, and you have to talk about it, and the other person has to guess the correct image. And the thing is, this is very stress free. You can practice a wide range of topics because you have a wide selection of images. You don't have to worry about finding a specific partner that you are closely engaging with. You can switch the partners without going back to the same conversations. You don't have to worry that much about performance. You're focused on meaning. So as long as the other person understands which image you're talking about, they can pick the correct one. So it's a very stress-free guided communication, which is
Yeah.
something that, in a language classroom, the teachers are gonna do that with you, right? They are gonna elicit something from you. But if you're studying by yourself, if you're just using other apps, this is something that people rarely put the time in to practice. It's very easy to forget to practice output if you're studying by yourself, but it's really important.
Yeah, I mean, is like you said that I do have problems with apps because or it's too easy or I feel that goes for a wrong way. Like I try to learn Japanese. I actually know very basic Japanese, but I try to learn Japanese by some apps and like I tried. What was the memo? I forgot the other one. There's one that is
Memorize?
yeah, so it was super simple. And then Duolingo came with Japanese later. It was very simple. And I tried actually one thing that was more like you talk with Japanese people and then they practice the English with you. And I don't know, felt kind of didn't feel like oh just like I kind of yeah didn't happen for me and my friends actually. I was with other friend that was trying as well. I don't know if the format of the course was a little bit wrong, but like the conversation was just not fluid. Was just like you were talking right now. Like was just like, "How are you? Very well. What do you do? I'm a programmer. Cool." And then the person changed it the next week. So was pretty was a Japanese that I probably would never use besides try to get like help in Japan. And yeah, I kind of gave up after 1 month, I guess.
Yeah, there's just a huge gap between those two stages. There's something called the intermediate. No,
Yeah,
so you have like the A, like you can speak at A1 and A2 level. There's B1 and B2, and there's C1 and C2. And from like A1 to like a B2 or to a C1, there's like so much in between. And most of the basic courses of Duolingo and other apps, they are not gonna take you to like B2, which is where you can speak with other people. They're gonna finish at like A1 or A2 at best. And then you have like very little support for like B1. And like you're not really prepared to join a full conversation at that stage, but you do need some practice.
yeah.
So that's the space, that's the void I'm trying to fill with Polygloss.
Yeah, is actually. I mean, I'm gonna after the we record, I'm gonna drop the link there, and yeah. But I just wanted to actually say one thing that you probably don't know, but you are actually one of the biggest reasons that I try to speak conferences outside of Brazil. I was,
Really?
yeah. I mean, I don't know when that happened, but maybe it was 4 years or 3 years ago. And then I saw your talk in the JS I think so. And I was like, maybe. I mean, your first name is not that popular in Brazil. And I thought like, okay, maybe she's not Brazilian. And it was like, damn, she's Brazilian. She's speaking English here, and like she's kicking some ass. And I was like, damn, that created so much energy on me, like to just give a shot on learn English and go outside and speak in other countries. So I really appreciate that. Have you already thought about that? Like how you can influence other people, especially women, like in technology?
Well, this is a very touchy subject because I'm always surprised when I hear something like what you just said. I don't know. I just
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to have you in the podcast, especially. I mean, everyone that I bring in the podcast I have a different reason, like personal reason. But yours was basically mostly one because we have a lot of friends in common. They always say good stuff about you. But that was a like a yeah, that kind of was very important for me, like in the way that I remember clearly it was two people that like motivated me to speak. First one was Milha Medeiros, was 2013. I saw a video of him speaking the Brazil JS, and I was like, "Then I want to do that." And yours was basically the same. I saw a Brazilian like, "Yeah, I am here speaking English. Everyone's understanding. Like, this is possible." In the time, I didn't speak English, and I was like, "All right, I can do that." And then that kind of changed my career. Like I would not never go. Probably would never focus so much in work for GoDaddy, Spotify, if I didn't watch your talk or something like that.
Oh wow, that's an honor because I see you kicking ass all the time, and I'm like, I really admire you. So when you say that you admire me, I'm like, oh my god, like
No, I
really?
mean
I
I
am
admire
really
you.
surprised.
No, I admire you more than you do with me. I mean, you basically like turned the key for me in my career. So I really appreciate that.
Oh wow. Yeah, I never think those things happen. And I do my things and I'm always surprised when someone is like, really admiring it because I'm a big self critic. I am
Yeah.
really, really insecure. I just go and do things anyway because those are things I want to do. But in my mind, it's always crap. Like everything is bad and it didn't work well. And everyone is like, what are you talking about? It was nice. I liked it. But in my head, it's always awful. And it's a feeling I try to shake and I can't. I tried everything, but I can't shake that feeling. And at some point, it drives people mad. Like they get angry at me. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I do understand that. Like, I remember watch your talk is still one of my favorite talks that I watched. Like, and then when you say like, no, it's not good, I was like, no, that was very good. That was like, damn.
But it's just like an internal feeling that I can't get rid of. I
Yeah,
would love to
yeah.
get rid of this feeling, but it stays there, and people get angry of me because some people feel that I'm like, I don't know, that it is some sort of like humble brag that I'm doing on purpose. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, just genuinely never get satisfied with anything I do. And it's awful. I wish it wasn't the case. Can you imagine if I was just happy with my stuff? Wow, what a
Yeah.
concept. Yeah. But even like I don't know, this was a problem like even at school when I was a kid. If I got like a 9.5 instead of around 10, I would cry and be like, I didn't get the best grades. I suck. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm like that. And obviously that irritates the people who get like an 8 and are happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. But the same way, I do have a little sister that she's learning programming right now, and one thing that I realized when she joined the programming area is honestly, I feel that have less women speaking that should be. Like there's a lot of great speakers. My favorite programmers actually, most of them they are women, and I just didn't know how to say to my sister, like, yeah, I know, just is a bunch of dudes. And in the same way, I talk about her, about you actually, and she actually was like, "Damn, this." Like encourages her. Like you create like, okay, this person's there. This is real. Have you ever felt like this influential way that you could be giving for like woman in tech?
Oh no, yeah, definitely having role models is like really important. Like it's really, really, really important. And it's something I wish I had more in my career. I mean, there is obviously a lot of people I know in the field that I admire. But I wish I had more in like closer environments, like colleagues that I,
Yeah.
talk to every day, or like a boss that manages me, people that are in my work environments close to me every day that I can admire and be inspired by. I didn't have lots of that. Like I only had like other women programmers in my team for like very brief moments of time during my career. And I never had boss like in programming
Yeah.
who was a woman. So in my last company, it was a small startup. So they didn't have a lot of people to begin with, but I was the first woman to join in the software engineering aspect. The company before that, there were other women in my team, but either they were designers or they were like a project manager. There were women who were programmers who worked in the same team as me eventually, but they were projects that I didn't stay very long. So I was in the project for like 6 months, and then I quit from that company. Then I don't work there anymore. Yeah, I very, very rarely in my career had other people in my team who were also programmers and were women. And I sort of missed that. I wish I had more of that.
Yeah, I do understand.
Lonely.
Yeah. I mean, when I joined Spotify, that was my reality shock, I would say, because I realized that like my team was more women, like as programmers than dudes, than guys, and I was like, then that was the moment that I felt like. I mean, I always have been okay, like we should bring more women, but in the same way, that was the moment of reality. Like I was like, okay, this is real. Like I never lived it like that until getting to Spotify. So I was just, whoa. Like it's just, I mean, I don't like when, for example, is only one type of people like working. Just you need to add the mix, like that is what it's about, even not only programming but in life as well. And yeah, it's just I remember first time I was like, damn, this is amazing.
And it's not just about gender, there's also all sorts of diversity and inclusivity that could be improved as well.
Yeah.
There's also like the other dynamics that we go through, so we also have to encounter the immigration. I am an immigrant, and I would prefer to work in teams where there are either people from various countries or some people from my country, some people from other countries, or it would be hard if I was like the only person who was not from
Yeah.
the area. Then I will be like sort of excluded, or it can be very hard. I have worked in a team where it wasn't that problematic. I was the only one who was not German in the team, and it worked well in the end. In terms of communication, like everyone used English all the time. They never switched back to German when I was there, so it worked great. So it wasn't like a problem, but it's still like so homogeneous. It feels like it's
Yeah.
missing something.
Yeah, you feel left out. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. And
Yeah.
and then there are the things where, it's not a group that I belong to, but I would benefit from, having a diverse environment as well. And there are things that I sometimes don't pay attention to, and I should. There was one time in one situation I went through with some friends. It was like very eye opening. It's very weird. It was me and a group of friends. We went to a hackathon, right? So we were hitchhiking. It was an amazing trip. And I remember we got to the hackathon. And after like half an hour, one of our friends asked me, "You look a bit uncomfortable. Like, what's up?" Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I don't know. And then I just looked around and I said, "I think I'm the only woman in this whole building.
Yeah.
Ever since we arrived here, I haven't seen another woman." And then one of my friends said, "Well, I haven't seen another black person either." And I hadn't noticed that,
Yeah.
just as the guys didn't notice about
Yeah.
not seeing other women. And I hadn't noticed that we also hadn't seen any people who weren't white. So it was like a very teaching moment to like all of us. This was a situation that I'll never forget. It was, quite a shock and quite important, I think.
I started to do that mentorship. I don't know if you look at in the Twitter. I started to do mentorship for Black people in Brazil, and then because I wanted to bring them more for IT, and like it's just 10 or 11 people that I was mentoring got like their first job in IT, and I don't know how to explain. It still give me like goosebumps because I feel the same way. Like I'll go for like some conference, you barely see like black folks there. It's just like, yeah, it's just, I don't know, like it's coming from a community in Brazil is just super weird to see.
Yeah, I don't come from a community that is majority black, so I was raised in Niterói, which is, next to São Gonçalo. I have family in São
Yeah, it's
Gonçalo.
super close. Yeah.
It's super close. But it's just like very mixed, everyone
Yeah.
is mixed to some degree, and you'll see people from all colors in
Yeah.
your street. Like your neighbors, like my neighbors, they range from like the whitest white to the blackest black, and everything in between, and everyone living in the same area. And although Brazil is very segregated, like you'll see
Yeah.
like the very rich neighborhoods, they will have like a lot of white people. In my middle class neighborhood, everyone was sort of mixed. And then when you have like some communities like in a favela, it's mostly black. So there is like a big segregation. But it's when I moved outside of Brazil, it was like this middle part disappeared.
Yeah.
And it was like you either had a place where only people from one group lives, or a place where one people from the other group lives. Like, I don't know, in Berlin, for example, depending on the neighborhoods that you circulate, you can spend all day long, like without seeing one black person at all, the whole day, for weeks.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't black people in Berlin. In fact, there is a lot, but they are like in a different part of the city.
Yeah.
And Paris is very similar, and it's kind of strange because you go through the metro and you kind of know where you are because you see like the color of the people inside the train changing. And I'm like, this was a very weird experience.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
me,
same for
because
Stockholm. Like the center is more like white Sweden people, and then you go outside of the center, and then you see immigrants, you see black people, you see, and it's funny because I live right in the center of Stockholm, and then I walk, and some people they look kind of different to me, like, or they stare at me too much.
yeah, it feels more segregated here for some reason. I don't know if it's because like this middle part disappears or if it's for some other reason or if I'm just like making things up. I don't know if maybe like my perception
Yeah.
is wrong. Like London is more mixed in this respect than what I've seen in other capitals like Paris or Berlin. So London is a bit better in that respect, but still like very different from Brazil.
Yeah. Everything's different from Brazil, I would say.
Yeah.
Changing the subject, the last subject that I want to talk with you is you are very active in Lua project in Brazil.
Yes.
Like how this started, how you got involved so much with Lua. Like I mean, I can't imagine because I think you studied in the same university as I forgot the name of the guy.
Roberto?
Yes, yeah, I can imagine that maybe could be a reason, but how did it start?
So that was exactly the reason. But no, I knew Lua before because I used to play a game called Ragnarok Online.
Yeah.
Some of the parts of the game were made in Lua, and I ran like a pirate server that was very famous. And that was how I learned programming. So it was like making pirates on Ragnarok Online servers. So I knew Lua existed, but I didn't know it was Brazilian.
Oh.
Like, I had no idea. And then one day, years later, when I'm in university and I just started like information science undergrads, right? And I'm, talking to, and there was the troche, right? The I don't know, I think they call it hazing in English, but it's not very bad. It was just like the thing where they put like the veterans of, with the freshmen, and we went to like a pub crawl or something. So I was talking to people who were like way later on in the course as I was, and I don't know how Lua came up, and people were talking about Lua. And I don't know what I said that maybe ticked someone off, or maybe gave away that I didn't know that much about Lua. I don't remember what I said, but someone interrupted me and said, "But Lua is made here, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean here? Like here, here, here?" And I was like, "Yeah, here. Like you're gonna have classes with the guy who created Lua around like your 5th semester or something, like Roberto Jerusalenchi. He is one of the architects of the language, and he's a professor here, and he teaches compilers and semantics for programming language design, and I don't remember what else he lectures, but and I was like, oh wow, that's amazing, that's really cool. And I felt like really proud because I was like, oh, look, I am studying in the university where this thing that is used abroad, I'm studying at a place, I'm gonna study with the people who created this thing. Like that's awesome. I just felt like I felt like I had an obligation to learn it after that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna be a patriot, I'm gonna learn Lua.
No, I can definitely imagine. Like, I mean, if I was in your situation, probably I would do the same.
Yeah, we are the underdogs, right? For
Yeah.
Brazilians, everything that comes from Brazil is bad, and everything that comes from abroad is good. It's just like very ingrained in our system, the complexity
Yeah, yeah. I
um
do understand. Yeah,
so when I discovered that Lua was Brazilian, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
this
I
is
have
it.
to
Yeah, gonna help that. Yeah,
Yeah, I have to learn this way. So that's what I did. So I started learning it to just because I felt like I should, and I actually fell in love with the language. It was so correct. I don't know how to say. Like it was an interpreted language. There are things that are interpreted language problems that are
yeah,
gonna happen in Lua, but in the scope of being an interpreted language, when I compared it with other interpreted languages, Lua just felt like
right.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like it's so simple and powerful. Like you can have my favorite thing about it is that you could have the whole language in your head. Like you don't have to Google. Like
yeah,
imagine that. Like
yeah.
that was incredible. That was the best thing about Lua.
Yeah, the thing that most impresses me is that the language is probably the most portable language as popular and portable language that I know. Like, I don't know other language that can do what Lua does as portable like things and being popular as well.
Yeah, you can run Lua on a washing machine,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
on a microwave, on anything. It runs Lua. Like
Yeah, it's just insane, right?
yeah, it's pretty amazing, and the history why it's like that is pretty cool as well. Brazil had like some sort of self-imposed embargo. Like I don't know, at the beginning of like computing, like they had like these restrictions of who you could buy computers from, and the idea was that the country could only import computers from companies there were also like had like technical knowledge being made available. So it's not like I'm just gonna transfer you hardware. I'm gonna transfer you hardware and know-how, right? So Brazil was looking to import not only like the hardware but also the knowledge. So they had like a set of restrictions on who you could make business with because of that. But the problem was that this changed all the time. And it was very common that a company would have like a very wide range of computers with different architectures. And that was a problem that Lua had to solve, which was working with all of them.
Yeah,
So this is
that
why it's that portable, I guess. And
that is
yeah.
such a good start.
But yeah, it's just such a comfortable. It's comfy. It feels cozy. I like Lua. But one thing with Lua is that it's used in a very invisible way, as in which is maybe because it's such an easy language to use and learn. You don't actually need to be like a Lua programmer. Any person can use Lua. Lua was created to just be able to be used by
Yeah.
even like non-programmers. So there isn't such a thing as like a Lua programmer, You are some programmer and you're gonna encounter Lua on the wild, So for
Yeah, it's like
example,
shell script, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Feels, I mean, nobody says like I am a shell script programmer because it is like, I mean, it is like they have like Turing things, but it is in the same way, it's just like is way simpler than other programming languages. And you don't say like, okay, I code in shell script. And is I can imagine that maybe it's the same thing, right?
yeah, in that respect, yes. I mean, there are many differences between Lua and
Yeah, yeah,
shell
yeah.
script as,
That
as a language,
obviously,
but
yeah.
in that respect of as just being a tool that you're gonna encounter at some point, yeah, that's exactly something that happens with Lua. So you don't really like find job opportunities for it. It just sort of happens, and you use Lua in your job if you have to. So there were some machine learning frameworks that use Lua because of the speed. There are some gaming frameworks that use Lua because it's easy to use and because of the performance as well. So gaming is
Yeah.
an industry that is really focused on performance. So in that respect, Lua is a great tool. But yeah, it's just something that if you need to use it, then you learn it and use it.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I had to learn some stuff about because I needed to use like in the very. Yeah, I think that I had a really specific case that I needed Lua for be there. It could not be JavaScript or other thing. But then I decided to write my computer language instead of use Lua. I thought that was like a good challenge, a programming challenge. But it actually I should have used Lua. Took way more time, but it was really good, like challenge.
Yeah, there are many use cases where Lua is perfect,
Yeah, it
but
is. Yeah.
that is also frequently the use case where people are gonna have fun reinventing the wheel. So it's complicated. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
in terms of like configuration language, for example. Lua is great for that as well.
Yeah. Well, I think we run out of time, but I really appreciate it to have you here. Like, I really liked the conversation.
Saying like thanks for inviting me. I'm really proud of you. Like that's amazing.
Nah, I am like, I'm just happy that like after everything, like we were able to talk and stuff like that. I mean, you really were, are still my one of my references.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush.
Thank you for being here.